Hello, friends. Let me take you back to a day that changed everything for me. I was sitting in my living room, the one my husband and I had built together over 30 years. The sun was filtering through the curtains, and I was going through some old papers. That's when I found it. A bank statement that didn't make sense. My heart stopped for a moment. The money from my late husband's life insurance, the money that was supposed to help me and our kids through the tough times, was gone. Spent on something I couldn't believe. A yacht. A big fancy yacht that someone close to us had bought without a word to me. I felt a wave of sadness wash over me. How could this happen? Who would do such a thing? It was my husband's own sister. She had taken what was mine, what he had left for me in his will. I sat there, tears in my eyes, thinking about all the memories we had. But then, a quiet strength started to grow inside me. I knew I had to fight back. I had to sue her to get justice. But what happened next? Keep listening, because this story is full of heartache and surprises. I want to take you back further, before the pain started showing its face. My name is Elena, and for most of my life, things felt steady and kind. I met my husband, Marcus, when we were both 23. He worked at the local hardware store back then, always smiling, always helping people find what they needed. I was a school secretary, the one who answered the phone and kept the office running smooth. We didn't have much money, but we had each other, and that felt like enough. We got married in a small church with wildflowers we picked ourselves. Only family and a few close friends came. Marcus held my hand the whole time, whispering that he would take care of me forever. I believed him. We bought a little house on Maple Street, with a porch that creaked in the wind. Over the years we painted it blue, because Marcus said blue reminded him of the sky on our wedding day. We planted a garden in the back. Roses, tomatoes, and herbs. Every summer evening, we sat out there with iced tea, talking about nothing and everything. Our 2 children came along quietly, like they knew we were ready. First Sarah, with her big, curious eyes, then little James, who looked just like his dad. Marcus worked hard, took extra shifts so we could afford dance lessons for Sarah and soccer cleats for James. He never complained. At night, he'd come home tired, but he'd still read them stories until their eyes closed. I watched him from the doorway sometimes, feeling so full, my heart hurt a little. Marcus always talked about the future in a calm way. "We'll be okay, Elena," he'd say. "I've got a small life insurance policy. If something happens to me, you and the kids won't struggle." I didn't like hearing those words. I'd put my hand over his mouth and say, "Don't talk like that. You're not going anywhere." He'd laugh softly and kiss my fingers. But he made sure the policy was in place. He named me the sole beneficiary. It was for us, our family. He wanted us safe. His sister Clara was part of our life too. She was 3 years younger than Marcus, and they grew up close after their parents passed early. Clara never married, never had kids of her own. She lived alone in an apartment across town. We saw her every holiday, every birthday. She'd bring gifts that were a bit too fancy sometimes, perfume for me, gadgets for the kids. Marcus loved her. He'd say, "Clara's had a hard time. We're all she's got." So we included her. She came for Sunday dinners, helped with the garden when her back allowed it. I trusted her like family. She called me sister. Years went by peaceful like that. The kids grew up. Sarah moved to the city for college. James joined the Navy. The house felt quieter, but Marcus and I filled it with our routines. Morning coffee on the porch, evening walks around the block. He started having trouble breathing sometimes. The doctor said it was his heart, something that had been coming slow. We didn't panic. We just held each other tighter. Marcus passed away on a Tuesday morning in spring. The roses were just opening. I was holding his hand when he slipped away. Quiet, peaceful, the way he wanted. After the funeral, people told me time would help. I nodded, but inside I felt hollow. The life insurance check came a few months later. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough. Enough to pay off the house, help the kids if they needed it, keep me comfortable in the years ahead. I put the papers in a drawer, not ready to touch them yet. Clara was there a lot those first months. She brought soup, sat with me when the silence got too loud. She'd say, "We'll get through this together, Elena." Marcus would want that. I believed her. Grief makes you lean on people. I leaned on her. But one afternoon, months later, I opened that drawer to look at the policy again. Something felt off. A bank statement had come in the mail, statements I hadn't asked for. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where Marcus and I ate breakfast every day. I read the numbers. My hands started shaking. The money wasn't there anymore. Not all of it. Most of it gone. Transferred. Spent. I called the insurance company, voice trembling. They confirmed it. The payout had gone through. But then, changes. Documents signed. By someone else. I sat there staring at the wall. The clock ticked. My heart felt like it was breaking all over again. Clara's name was on those papers. How could she? My sister-in-law, the one I trusted. I didn't cry right away. I just felt cold, empty. But deep down, something else stirred. A quiet fire. I wasn't going to let this go. What had she done with the money? And why? I needed answers, and I was going to find them. But the real hurt, the part that cut deepest, that came next. Keep listening, friends, because the truth was worse than I imagined. After Marcus passed, the days felt long and empty. I tried to keep moving. I watered the roses like he used to. I made coffee for one. I answered the phone when Sarah or James called, but everything reminded me of him. His chair at the table, his coat still hanging by the door. I left it there for months because taking it down felt final. Clara came around more often. At first, it was comfort. She'd knock softly, bring a casserole or a loaf of bread from the bakery Marcus liked. We'd sit in the living room with the TV on low, not really watching. She'd talk about old times, how Marcus once fixed her bicycle when they were kids, how he always protected her. I listened and nodded. It felt good to hear his name without crying. One evening she stayed late. We were drinking tea, and she looked at me with soft eyes. "Elena," she said, "you know Marcus left me something too, right?" I tilted my head. "He did?" She nodded slowly. "A little money. Not much. Just enough so I wouldn't be completely alone if anything happened. He told me years ago. Said it was only fair." I felt a tiny pinch in my chest, but I pushed it away. Marcus was generous. That was who he was. If he wanted to leave Clara something small, I wouldn't question it. I smiled weakly and said, "That sounds like him." She reached over and squeezed my hand. "Your family, Elena. We'll look after each other now." I believed her. Grief makes trust feel necessary. But little things started to feel different. She began asking questions about the insurance money. Casual at first. "How are you going to use it?" she'd say while stirring sugar into her tea. "I haven't decided yet," I'd answer. "Maybe pay off the last of the mortgage. Help Sarah with her apartment deposit." She'd nod, but her eyes would linger a second too long. Then she started coming over when I wasn't expecting her. I'd find her in the kitchen, looking through drawers. Once I walked in, and she was holding the folder with the insurance papers. "Just tidying up," she said quickly, closing it. "You've got so much on your mind." I thanked her, but something inside me shifted. A small, quiet warning. Weeks passed. Clara talked more about her dreams. She'd always wanted to see the ocean properly, not just from the shore, but out on the water. "I picture myself on a boat sometimes," she said one afternoon. "Just floating. No worries. No bills." I listened politely. I didn't think much of it then. One day she asked if she could borrow some money. "Just a little," she said. "My car needs repairs, and the landlord raised the rent again." I hesitated. The insurance money was still sitting in the account, untouched. I gave her a few $100s. She hugged me tight. "You're a saint, Elena. Marcus was lucky to have you." She paid me back the next month, a check in the mail. I felt relieved. Maybe I was being too careful. Maybe grief was making me see shadows where there weren't any. But then the calls from the insurance company started. First, it was a polite voice, asking if I had made any changes to the policy recently. No, I said. Why? They mentioned updated beneficiary forms, something about a request to redirect funds. I told them there must be a mistake. I hadn't signed anything new. They sent me copies. When the envelope arrived, I opened it at the kitchen table. My hands were cold. The papers showed my signature, or something that looked very much like it. But I knew I hadn't signed them. Next to my name was another signature, Clara's. My stomach turned. I called her right away. Clara, I said, trying to keep my voice even. Did you sign something for the insurance? There was a long pause. Elena, I was just helping. You were so upset after the funeral. I thought it would be easier if I handled some things. I sat down hard. How much? I asked. Another silence. Most of it, she finally said. I closed my eyes. The room felt smaller. What did you do with it, Clara? She started to cry. Soft, shaky sobs. I bought something. Something I've wanted my whole life. A boat. Not huge, but it's mine. I thought Marcus would understand. He always said I deserve nice things too. A yacht. Not a little boat. A yacht. I hung up the phone. The house was completely quiet except for the clock. Tick, tick, tick. I looked at the photo of Marcus on the wall. Him smiling in the garden, dirt on his hands. He trusted her. I trusted her. And she had taken almost everything he left for me. For us. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, feeling the weight of it settle deep inside. Betrayal doesn't always come loud. Sometimes it arrives soft and slow, wearing the face of someone you love. I knew then I couldn't let it stay that way. I picked up the phone again. This time I called a lawyer. But what I didn't know yet, what would hurt even more, was what Clara said when I confronted her face to face. That moment is coming. Stay with me. Because the pain was only beginning to show its full shape. I didn't sleep much after that phone call. The house felt colder than usual. I kept seeing Marcus's face in every corner. I kept hearing Clara's voice saying, I thought Marcus would understand. The next morning, I made myself a cup of tea, but I didn't drink it. I just held the warm mug and stared out the window at the roses. They needed pruning, but I couldn't bring myself to touch them yet. I knew I had to see it for myself. The yacht. I looked up the marina where Clara kept it. It was about an hour's drive south, near the coast. I'd never been there before. Marcus and I always talked about taking a little trip to the ocean one day, but we never did. Life got in the way. I put on my good coat, the navy one Marcus bought me for our 30th anniversary, and drove alone. The road was quiet. I played no music. I just listened to the hum of the tires and my own thoughts. When I reached the marina, the air smelled of salt and diesel. Boats of all sizes lined the docks. Small fishing boats, sailboats, and then the bigger ones. I walked slowly, reading the names painted on the sides. And there it was. Clara's Dream. That's what she'd named it. It was beautiful, I'll give her that. White and shining in the sun. Long decks, big windows, more than one level. It looked expensive. Very expensive. I stood on the dock, looking up at it. My legs felt weak. This was paid for with Marcus's money. The money he worked extra shifts for. The money he wanted to keep me safe. Clara was on the deck. She was wiping down the railing with a cloth, humming to herself. She looked happy, relaxed, like she belonged there. She saw me and froze. The cloth dropped from her hand. Elena, she said softly, how did you find me? I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her. Really looked. She was wearing new sunglasses, a light jacket I didn't recognize. Her hair was styled differently. I needed to see it, I finally said. My voice was calm. I didn't raise it. I needed to see what you did with my husband's money. She came down the little ramp slowly. Her face was pale now. Elena, please, let me explain. We sat on a bench near the water. The waves made soft sounds against the boats. A few people walked by, but no one paid attention to us. She started talking fast at first. I didn't mean to hurt you. I really didn't. After Marcus died, I felt so alone. I've always been alone. You had the kids. You had the house. You had memories everywhere. I had nothing, just my little apartment and bills. She looked out at the water. This boat, it was something I dreamed about since I was a girl. Marcus knew that. He used to say, "One day, Clara, you'll have your own boat." I thought, maybe this was my chance, just once to have something beautiful that was mine. I listened. My hands were folded in my lap. "You forged my signature," I said quietly. She looked down. I know it was wrong. I told myself it was only borrowing, that I'd pay it back somehow. But then I saw this yacht for sale, and the price was perfect, and I just did it. Perfect, I repeated. The word tasted bitter. She started to cry. Not loud, just tears running down her cheeks. "I'm sorry, Elena. I truly am. Marcus would be ashamed of me. I know that." I felt something break inside me. Not anger, not yet, just deep, deep sadness. "Clara," I said, "that money wasn't yours to borrow. It wasn't mine to give away either. It was for me and the children. Marcus trusted you. I trusted you." She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back gently. "I can sell the boat," she said quickly. "I'll sell it. I'll give you every penny back. It hasn't been that long. I can still fix this." I looked at her for a long time. "Can you?" I asked. "Can you really fix this?" She didn't answer. I stood up. My knees were stiff from sitting. "I'm going to talk to a lawyer, Clara. Not because I hate you, but because this isn't right. Marcus worked his whole life for that money. He wanted us taken care of. You took that from me. From Sarah and James, too." She stood up, too. "Please don't, Elena. We're family." I looked at her one more time. "Family doesn't steal from each other," I said softly. I walked back to my car. I didn't look back. As I drove home, the tears finally came. Quiet ones. They rolled down my cheeks while I kept both hands on the wheel. I thought about Marcus, how he always said family was everything, how he protected Clara her whole life. And I thought about the yacht, sitting in the water, shining under the sun. I knew then that selling it might not be as easy as Clara hoped. And I knew something else too. This wasn't over. Not by a long way. What Clara told me next, when the lawyer got involved, changed everything again. Stay with me, friends, because the truth about why she really did it, that part, hurt the most. I drove home from the marina with the windows down. The salt air stayed on my skin for hours. When I walked into the house, it felt different, like the walls knew something had shifted. I didn't turn on the lights right away. I sat in the armchair Marcus used to love, the one with the worn spot on the armrest where his hand always rested. I pulled out my phone and called the number I'd found earlier, a small law firm downtown. The receptionist was kind. She said they handled estate and family matters. She asked if it was urgent. I said yes. She gave me an appointment for the next morning. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying Clara's words. "I can sell the boat. I'll give you every penny back." It sounded simple, but something in her eyes when she said it told me it wouldn't be that easy. The lawyer's office was on the third floor of an old building. The elevator was slow. When I stepped in, a woman about my age greeted me. Her name was Margaret. She had soft gray hair and calm eyes. She offered me tea. I said no thank you. I just wanted to get the words out. I told her everything, from the day Marcus died, to finding the bank statement, to the forged signature, to seeing the yacht named Clara's Dream. I showed her the papers I'd brought, the policy, the statements, the copies from the insurance company. My hands shook a little as I handed them over. Margaret listened without interrupting. When I finished, she sat back and looked at me for a long moment. "Elena," she said gently, "what your sister-in-law did is fraud. Plain and simple. Forging a signature to redirect funds from a life insurance policy is a serious matter. Criminal, even, depending on how far it goes. I nodded slowly. The word criminal felt heavy in the room. But, she continued, there are layers here. First, we need to confirm exactly how much was transferred and when. Second, we need to see if the yacht is still in her name, if there's a loan against it, or if she's already tried to sell. Boats like that, they can be complicated. Titles, registrations, taxes. And if she claims it was a gift, or that Marcus verbally promised her more, it could get messy. Messy, I repeated. She nodded. Family cases always are. Emotions run high, people say things they don't mean, or they remember things differently. I looked down at my hands. She said Marcus told her years ago he left her something, a little money, for when she was alone. Margaret made a note. Did he ever mention that to you? No, never. She sighed softly. We'll request all the records, bank transfers, emails if there are any, the yacht purchase documents. We'll also look at the original policy. Marcus named you sole beneficiary. That's clear. Anything after that, any change, would need your consent, which you didn't give. I felt a small spark of something. Not hope exactly. Solid ground under my feet for the first time in months. What happens next? I asked. We send a formal demand letter, she said. We ask her to return the funds or the equivalent value within a set time, usually 30 days. If she doesn't, we file a civil suit for breach of fiduciary duty, fraud, conversion of funds, whatever fits. We can also report it to the authorities if the amount justifies it. I swallowed. And if she sells the yacht? If she sells it before we get a court order, we can trace the money, put a lien on other assets she has, freeze accounts if needed. But the sooner we move, the better. I sat there thinking about Clara on that deck, wiping the railing, looking content. I don't want to destroy her, I said quietly. I just want what Marcus left for me. Margaret reached across the desk and touched my arm lightly. I understand, and we'll do this cleanly. No drama if we can help it. But Elena, you have to be prepared. She may fight back. She may say things about Marcus, about you, about the marriage. People do that when they're cornered. I nodded. I already knew. I left the office with a folder of forms to sign, and a promise that Margaret would start working on the demand letter that week. When I got home, Sarah called. She was checking in like she did every few days. I didn't tell her everything yet, just that I was handling some paperwork from Dad's estate. She sounded worried anyway. Mom, are you okay? I will be, I said, and for the first time, I believed it a little. But that evening, Clara called me. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Elena, she said, her voice was small. I've been thinking, I don't want to lose you. You're the only family I have left. I stayed quiet. I talked to a friend who knows boats, she went on. The yacht, it's worth more now than when I bought it. The market went up. If I sell it, I could give you back the full amount, plus a little extra, for your trouble. I closed my eyes. Clara, I said, it's not about the extra. It's about what you took, without asking, without telling me. She started to cry again. I know I was selfish, but please, give me time. Don't go to court yet. Let me try to fix it my way. I thought about Marcus, how he would have wanted us to talk it out, how he hated lawyers and courts. But then I thought about the forged signature, the yacht sitting pretty, while I worried about bills. No, I said softly. I've already spoken to someone. They're sending a letter. You should get a lawyer, too. There was a long silence on the line. When she spoke again, her voice was different, sharper. You're really going to do this? After everything we've been through together? I'm doing it because of everything we've been through, I answered. Because Marcus trusted us both, and one of us broke that trust. She hung up. I sat with the phone in my hand for a long time. The demand letter arrived at her address 3 days later, certified mail, and that's when the real storm started. Clara didn't just cry anymore. She got angry. She started calling mutual friends, telling them I was being cruel, that I was trying to take her only happiness away, that Marcus would be disappointed in me. Some people believed her. Others called me to ask what was happening. I didn't say much. I just said it was a private family matter. But the hardest part came when James called from the Navy base. "Mom," he said, "Aunt Clara reached out. She said you're suing her over Dad's money. Is that true?" I took a deep breath. "Yes," I told him. "It is." He was quiet for a moment. Then he said the words that almost broke me. "Mom, Dad always said family sticks together." I felt tears come again. "I know, sweetheart," I whispered. "But sometimes family has to stand up for what's right, even when it hurts." He didn't argue, but I could hear the confusion in his voice. And in that moment, I wondered if I was doing the right thing, or if I was tearing apart the last pieces Marcus left behind. The answer didn't come easy, but the court date was coming, and Clara's next move, that one I never saw coming. Keep listening, friends, because just when I thought the pain had found its bottom, it dropped deeper still. The weeks after the demand letter felt like walking through fog. Everything moved slow, but the hurt moved fast. Clara didn't respond to the letter right away. Instead, she started talking to people. Not just friends, family friends, neighbors, even some of Marcus's old co-workers from the hardware store. Word spread quiet at first, then louder. I started getting calls. One afternoon, Mrs. Larson from down the street stopped by with a plate of cookies. She looked uncomfortable. "Elena, honey," she said, setting the plate on the counter. "I don't like to pry, but Clara told me you're taking her to court over Marcus's money. Said you're trying to leave her with nothing after all these years." I felt my throat tighten. "That's not the whole story, Mrs. Larson," I said softly. She patted my hand. "I figured, but people are talking. Some are taking sides." I nodded. I didn't have the energy to explain. Sarah came home for a weekend soon after. She walked in the door, dropped her bag, and hugged me tight. Then she pulled back and looked at me. "Mom, Aunt Clara sent me a long message. She said you're suing her because your angry dad left her something small, that you're punishing her for being alone." I sat down at the kitchen table. Sarah sat across from me. "That's not true," I told her. "She took almost all of it, Sarah, without asking. She forged papers, bought a yacht." Sarah's eyes widened. "A yacht?" I nodded. She looked away for a moment toward the window where the roses were blooming. "Dad would hate this," she whispered. "All of us fighting." "I know," I said. My voice cracked just a little. "But he also wouldn't want someone to steal from his family." She reached for my hand. "I believe you, Mom. I do. It's just hard." James is confused too. He keeps saying family is supposed to forgive. I squeezed her fingers. "Forgiveness doesn't mean letting someone keep what isn't theirs," I said quietly. "Sometimes you have to protect what your dad worked for, even if it hurts everyone." She stayed the whole weekend. We cooked together. We walked in the garden. We talked about Marcus. Funny stories, mostly. How he once tried to fix the toaster and set off the smoke alarm. How he danced badly at our wedding. We laughed until we cried a little. But when she left on Sunday, she hugged me extra long. "Whatever happens, Mom," she said, "I'm on your side, okay?" I nodded against her shoulder. "Okay." James called the next night from his base. His voice sounded farther away than usual. "Mom," he started. "Aunt Clara called me again. She cried the whole time. Said you won't even talk to her. Said the lawyer is threatening to take her boat and her home." I closed my eyes. "She's not losing her home, James. Just the yacht she bought with money that wasn't hers." He was quiet a long time. "I don't know what to think," he finally said. "Dad always told me to look after Aunt Clara. That she needed us more than most." My heart ached hearing those words. "Your dad was kind," I said. "He was too kind sometimes. But he never meant for her to take care of herself by hurting us." James sighed. "I just want this to stop. I hate thinking about you two in court." "Me too," I whispered. After we hung up, I sat in the dark living room. The only light came from the street lamp outside. I thought about Marcus, how he'd sit right here, reading the paper, glancing up to smile at me. I wondered what he would say now. Would he tell me to let it go? Or would he tell me to fight? I didn't know. But I did know one thing. Clara wasn't just fighting to keep the yacht. She was fighting to rewrite the story. A few days later, Margaret called me into her office. She had new papers on her desk. "Elena," she said. Clara's lawyer responded. "She's claiming that Marcus verbally promised her a larger share years ago, that he told her, in front of witnesses, that he wanted her taken care of if he passed first." I felt cold. "Witnesses?" Margaret nodded. She named two people, an old neighbor and one of Marcus's coworkers. "They say they remember him saying something like that." I stared at the floor. "He never said anything like that to me." "I believe you," Margaret said gently, "but if they testify, it could muddy things. Juries sometimes listen to family stories more than documents." I thought back. Marcus was private about money. He didn't talk about the policy much, but he did talk about Clara. Always with care, always saying she needed looking after. Did he ever say more? Did I miss something? My mind spun. Margaret leaned forward. "We're going to depose those witnesses. Ask them exactly what was said, when, where. We'll also pull every bank record, every email, every text between you and Clara. If she forged anything else, we'll find it." I nodded. "But Elena," she added, "this is getting bigger. Clara's lawyer is pushing for mediation first. They want to sit down and talk before court. Mediation. A room. Me, Clara, lawyers, talking about Marcus like he was a pile of money instead of a man who loved us." I felt sick. "I don't know if I can sit across from her," I said. Margaret touched my arm. "You don't have to decide today. But if you want any chance of settling without a full trial, mediation is the step." I left the office with my head full of noise. That night, I dreamed of Marcus. He was standing on the porch, looking out at the garden. I walked up behind him. "Elena," he said without turning, "why are you fighting Clara?" I tried to answer, but the words wouldn't come. He turned then. His eyes were kind, but sad. "She's my sister," he said softly, and then he was gone. I woke up with tears on my face. The mediation was scheduled for 2 weeks later. Clara sent one last message before the date. Just 3 words. "Please don't do this." I didn't reply. But deep down, I wondered if I could go through with it, if I could look her in the eye and say the words that needed saying. The day of mediation arrived faster than I wanted, and what happened in that small conference room? That was the moment everything cracked wide open. Keep listening, friends, because the things Clara said there, they changed how I saw Marcus and how I saw myself. The mediation office was small. Just a plain table, 6 chairs, a window with blinds half closed. No pictures on the walls, no clock ticking loud. Only the low hum of the air conditioner. I arrived early. Margaret walked in with me. She carried a thin briefcase and spoke in calm, even tones. "Breathe, Elena. This is just a conversation. Nothing gets decided today unless you agree." I nodded, but my hands were cold. Clara came in 10 minutes later. She looked smaller than I remembered. Her hair was pulled back tight. No makeup. She wore the same gray sweater she'd worn to Marcus's funeral. Her lawyer was a tall man with wire glasses. He nodded politely, but didn't smile. We all sat down, me and Margaret on one side, Clara and her lawyer on the other. A neutral mediator, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes, sat at the head of the table. She explained the rules. No yelling, no interruptions. We were here to find common ground if possible. She asked me to start. I took a slow breath. My voice came out quieter than I expected. "I'm here because Clara took money that Marcus left for me and our children. She changed the beneficiary documents without my knowledge. She forged my name. She used that money to buy a yacht. I want the value returned. That's all." Clara looked down at her hands the whole time I spoke. Her lawyer spoke next. He was careful with his words. "My client acknowledges that mistakes were made. She acted in a moment of deep grief and poor judgment. However, she maintains that Marcus had long expressed an intention to provide for her security as well. She has witnesses who will confirm conversations where he said he wanted her looked after. We believe a fair resolution would be to split the remaining funds equally, after accounting for the yacht's current value. Split equally. I felt the room tilt just a little. Margaret spoke up smoothly. That's not what the policy states. Elena was the sole named beneficiary. Any changes required her consent. There was no consent. The documents show a forgery. We have handwriting analysis ready, if needed. The mediator nodded. Let's hear from Clara directly. This is about understanding, not just documents. Clara lifted her head then. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying anymore. She looked straight at me. Elena, she began, her voice shaky but steady, I loved my brother more than anything. You know that. He was the only one who ever really looked out for me after our parents died. He promised me, more than once, that if anything happened to him, I wouldn't be left with nothing. He said it in front of people. He said, Clara's family too. She gets looked after same as you and the kids. I stared at her. He never said that to me, I whispered. Clara's lip trembled. He didn't want to worry you. You were always the strong one. He told me he didn't want you carrying the burden of me too. But he promised. In the garden one summer. You were inside making lemonade. He looked at me and said, if I go first, you take what you need. Elena will understand. My chest felt tight, like someone had wrapped a band around it. I thought back to that summer, Marcus in the garden with Clara, laughing. I remembered bringing out the pitcher. They both went quiet when I came near. I thought it was nothing, just brother and sister talking. Was it more? Did he really say those words? Or was Clara shaping them now, bending them to fit what she needed? Margaret touched my arm lightly under the table, a reminder to stay calm. The mediator spoke. Elena, do you want to respond? I looked at Clara for a long time. I believe you loved Marcus, I said slowly. I believe he cared about you, but I don't believe he wanted you to take everything he left for his wife and children, without a word, without asking. If he wanted you to have more, he would have changed the policy himself. He was careful about those things. You know he was. Clara's eyes filled again. I was scared, she said. After he died, everything felt like it was slipping away. The apartment, my job, my health. I saw that money sitting there, and I thought, maybe this is what he meant. Maybe this is my chance to finally feel safe. Her lawyer added, my client is willing to sell the yacht now. She's already spoken to a broker. The market is good. She could return the principal amount within 60 days, plus interest if the court requires it. In exchange, she asks that no criminal charges be filed. Margaret looked at me. I felt everyone's eyes on me. I thought about the yacht, Clara's dream, shining in the sun, while I worried about the heating bill last winter, while Sarah saved every penny for her rent, while James sent money home when he could. I thought about Marcus's smile, how he trusted people too easily sometimes, how he wanted everyone to be okay. And I thought about the forged signature, the one thing that couldn't be explained away with memories or promises. I can't agree to that, I said quietly. Not yet. Not without knowing the full amount will come back, and not without knowing this won't happen again, to anyone. Clara made a small sound, like something broke inside her. The mediator suggested a short break. We all stood. Clara walked out first, her lawyer behind her. In the hallway she stopped, turned to me. Elena, she said, voice barely above a whisper, if you do this, if you take me to court, you'll lose the kids. They'll see you as the one who broke the family. James already thinks you're being too hard. Sarah's trying to stay neutral, but it's tearing her up. Is that what Marcus would want? I felt the words like a slap, soft but sharp. I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time, I saw something besides sadness in her eyes, a flicker of calculation. She wasn't just pleading anymore. She was warning me. I didn't answer. I walked back into the room with Margaret. The mediator asked if we wanted to continue or adjourn. I said adjourn. Clara left without saying goodbye. In the car on the way home, Margaret was quiet for a while. Then she spoke. She's scared, Elena. Scared people say things they don't mean. But she's also trying to shift the blame onto you, onto Marcus's memory. We need to be ready for that in court. I nodded, but inside, doubt had crept in, small, quiet. What if the kids did side with her? What if they remembered only the tears, not the theft? What if Marcus really had promised her more, and I never knew? That night I sat on the porch, the same porch Marcus and I painted blue. The roses smelled sweet in the dark. I spoke to him out loud, for the first time since he died. "Tell me what to do," I whispered. "Tell me if I'm wrong." No answer came, just the wind moving through the leaves. The court date was set for 6 weeks later. Clara's lawyer filed papers claiming emotional distress, said pursuing this was causing her severe anxiety, asked for the case to be dismissed on compassionate grounds. Margaret laughed when she read it. A short, dry sound. "They're grasping," she said. "We'll counter. Strong." Because the real turning point wasn't in the mediation room. It was the letter that arrived 2 days later. From James. Handwritten. He said he was coming home on leave. He wanted to talk. To all of us. Me, Clara. Together. One last time before anything went to a judge. My heart sank because I knew what was coming. A family meeting. And choices that couldn't be taken back. Stay with me. Because what happened when James walked through that door, that was when I finally understood how deep the wound really went. James came home on a Friday evening in late autumn. The leaves on the maple tree were turning red and gold, the way Marcus always loved. I watched from the window as his taxi pulled up. He stepped out in his uniform, crisp but tired around the eyes. He looked taller somehow, older. He hugged me on the porch without saying a word at first, just held on tight, like when he was little and scared of thunderstorms. "I missed you, Mom," he finally said into my hair. "I missed you too, sweetheart." Sarah arrived an hour later. She flew in from the city. Her eyes were puffy from crying on the plane, I could tell. She hugged James first, then me. We stood there in the hallway, 3 of us, arms around each other. For a moment it felt like the old days, before everything broke. Clara came last. She knocked softly, like she wasn't sure she was still welcome. I opened the door. She looked thin. Her coat hung loose on her shoulders. She didn't meet my eyes right away. "Thank you for letting me in," she whispered. I stepped aside. No words. We all sat in the living room. Marcus's chair stayed empty. No one took it. James spoke first. His voice was steady, but I could hear the strain underneath. "I asked for this because I can't keep getting phone calls from both sides. I can't keep hearing different stories. Dad wouldn't want us tearing each other apart like this." He looked at me, then at Clara. "So I want the truth, all of it, right here. No lawyers, just us." Sarah nodded. She reached for my hand. I held on. Clara spoke next. Her voice cracked right away. "I'm sorry," she started. "I'm so sorry for what I did. I was drowning after Marcus died. Everything felt dark. The money, it looked like a lifeline. I told myself he would have wanted me to use it. I convinced myself the signature wasn't that bad because I believed part of it was mine anyway." James leaned forward. "Did Dad ever say that? That part of the money was yours?" Clara looked down at her lap. "He said things. Not exact amounts, not papers. But he said, 'If I'm gone, Clara, you won't be left out in the cold.' He said it more than once, in front of people. You remember Mr. Thompson from the hardware store? He was there one time. And old Mrs. Hayes next door. They both heard him." I felt Sarah's fingers tighten around mine. I spoke then, quiet, calm. "Marcus never told me any of that. If he wanted you to have more, he would have written it down. He was careful, Clara. You know he was." Clara lifted her head, tears on her cheeks now. "Maybe he didn't want to hurt you. Maybe he thought you'd say no. You were always the one who kept things in order. I was the messy one. The one who needed saving." James rubbed his face with both hands. "So what happened? You just signed Mom's name?" Clara nodded slowly. I panicked. The boat came up for sale. It was everything I ever dreamed of. I thought, if I had it, I could start over. I could be someone who didn't need saving anymore. Sarah's voice came soft but firm. But you took it from us. From Mom. From the life Dad built for her. Clara looked at Sarah. I know, and I hate myself for it. I've barely slept since this started. I see his face every time I close my eyes. He's disappointed. I know he is. The room went quiet. Only the sound of the wind outside. James looked at me. Mom, what do you need? Really need? Not what the lawyer says. What do you need to feel okay again? I thought about it. Really thought. I need the money back. Not because I want to be rich. Because your dad worked his hands raw for it. Every extra shift. Every weekend. He did it so we wouldn't struggle. So you two could go to school. Start your lives. So I could stay in this house we painted together. That's what I need. What he wanted. James nodded slowly. Then he turned to Clara. Aunt Clara, if you sell the boat, can you make it right? All of it? Clara wiped her eyes. The broker says yes. It's worth more now. I can pay it all back. With interest. I'll do it. I swear. Sarah spoke up. But how do we trust that? After the forgery. Clara looked straight at me then. You don't have to trust me anymore. Put it in writing. Through the lawyers. Make it legal. Freeze the sale money until it's in Elena's account. I'll sign whatever you need. I don't want to lose you all. You're all I have left of him. I felt the tears come then. Silent ones. They slid down my face while I looked at her. For the first time since I saw the yacht, I saw Clara. Not the thief, not the liar, but the little sister Marcus protected his whole life. The one who never learned how to stand on her own. The one who broke when he left. I thought about what he would do. He would forgive. But forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting, or letting go without accountability. I took a long breath. I'll agree to mediation again, I said. One more time, with clear terms. You sell the boat. The money goes straight to me. No criminal charges if it's done quickly and completely. But if anything goes wrong, if any part of it disappears, I won't stop. Clara nodded fast. Thank you, Elena. James let out a breath like he'd been holding it for months. Thank you, Mom. Sarah squeezed my hand harder. We sat there a while longer, not talking much, just being together. When Clara stood to leave, she paused at the door. Elena, she said, I know sorry isn't enough, but I am, every day. I looked at her. I know, I said, and I meant it. She left. James and Sarah stayed the night. We ate soup. We looked at old photos. We cried a little. We laughed a little. The next morning, Margaret called. I told her what happened. She said she'd draft the agreement. Strong protections. No room for mistakes. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something like peace settle in my chest. Not complete, not perfect, but real. But life has a way of surprising you, even when you think the hardest part is over. 2 weeks later, while the papers were being prepared, Clara disappeared. The yacht was gone from the marina. Her apartment was empty. No note, no goodbye, just dawn. And the money was already moved, offshore. I stood in her empty living room, staring at the bare walls, and felt the ground drop away again. James flew back on emergency leave. Sarah drove through the night. We searched. We called. We cried. The police got involved. And that's when I learned the final, hardest truth. Clara hadn't just taken the money. She had planned this all along. From the very first forged signature. She knew she might get caught. So she prepared an escape. And she left us with nothing but questions. Why? After everything. After that night in the living room. The answer never came. But the fight wasn't over. It had only changed shape. Keep listening, friends. Because what happened next, when we tracked her down, was the moment I finally found my strength. The kind Marcus always said I had. Even when I didn't believe it myself. The morning after we found Clara's apartment empty, the air in the house felt thin. Like it was hard to breathe. James stood in the kitchen, staring at the coffee pot, like it might give him answers. Sarah sat at the table, with her head in her hands. I moved between them, making toast no one ate, pouring water no one drank. We didn't talk much at first. Just small things. Have you checked her phone again? It's off. What about the marina? Gone. They said she sailed out 3 nights ago. James finally spoke the words we were all thinking. She ran. She looked us in the eye, promised to fix it, and then she ran. Sarah lifted her head, tears fresh on her cheeks. How could she do that to us? After Dad? I didn't have an answer. Not one that felt true. I called Margaret right away. She didn't sound surprised. This happens sometimes in fraud cases, she said gently. People think they can disappear. But money leaves trails, boats leave records. We'll find her. The police came that afternoon. 2 officers, kind but professional. They took statements. Looked around Clara's empty place with us. Noted the missing furniture, the clean surfaces where pictures used to hang. One officer, a woman with short gray hair, sat with me on the couch. Mrs. Elena, she said, we'll put out a bulletin. The yacht has a registration number. Coast Guard will watch for it. International waters make it harder, but not impossible. I nodded. And the money? If it's offshore, that's trickier. But banks talk when courts ask. We'll start with what we have. They left with copies of everything. Texts, emails, the mediation notes, even a photo of Clara I found in an old album. That night, James and Sarah stayed. We didn't sleep much. We sat up talking about Marcus instead. Safe memories. The way he whistled when he mowed the lawn. How he'd sneak chocolate to the kids before dinner. How he'd hold my hand under the table during family dinners. Sarah said softly, I keep thinking, maybe he knew. Maybe he saw how fragile she was and tried to protect her the only way he knew how. James shook his head. Dad wouldn't have wanted this. He wouldn't have wanted her to hurt you, Mom. I looked at them both. My beautiful, hurting children. Your dad loved big, I said. Sometimes too big. But he also taught me something. He taught me that love doesn't mean letting people walk over you. It means standing up when it matters. They both reached for my hands at the same time. The days that followed were a blur of phone calls and waiting. Margaret worked fast. She filed for an emergency freeze on any accounts linked to Clara. She contacted the yacht broker. They confirmed the boat had been moved, slipped out at night, no forwarding address. James used his leave to help. He called old friends of Clara's, people she used to work with. One woman remembered Clara talking about a cousin in Portugal. Another said she'd mentioned islands in the Caribbean once, like a dream. Sarah searched online. Yacht sightings, marina logs, anything public. She found a photo on a boating forum. Someone had posted a picture of a white yacht that looked just like Clara's dream, anchored off a small island. Time-stamped 4 days after she disappeared. We sent it to the police. Weeks passed. Then one Tuesday morning, Margaret called. Elena, she said, her voice careful but hopeful. We have movement. The Coast Guard spotted the yacht in international waters near the Bahamas. They've detained it. Clara's on board. She's asking for a lawyer. I sat down hard on the kitchen chair. James and Sarah were both home that week. I told them. Sarah started crying again. This time relief mixed with everything else. James just stared at the wall. She didn't get far, he said quietly. The extradition process took time. Months. Clara was brought back. Quiet, thin. No fight left in her eyes when they led her into the courtroom for the first hearing. She didn't look at me. The judge was fair. Stern but fair. The evidence was clear. Forgery, theft, fraud. The yacht sale had already been forced through court order. The money wired into a monitored account. Almost the full amount, minus some fees and taxes she'd paid along the way. Clara's new lawyer argued for leniency. Said she was remorseful. Said grief had clouded her judgment. Said she had no prior record. The prosecutor read the facts. Plain. No emotion. I sat in the front row. James on one side. Sarah on the other. Their hands in mine. When it was my turn to speak, I stood. My legs shook only a little. I looked at the judge, not at Clara. Your Honor, I began, my voice steady. My husband worked his entire life so his family would be safe. He trusted his sister. I trusted her. She took that trust and used it to take what wasn't hers. She ran when she had the chance to make it right. But even then, even after everything, I don't hate her. I just want what Marcus left us returned. And I want this to end. For all of us. The judge nodded slowly. Clara was sentenced to probation. Restitution in full. Community service. No jail time. The judge said it was because of her age, her health, her lack of history. But also because the money had been recovered. She was ordered to pay me directly. Monthly installments, until it was done. After the hearing, she waited in the hallway. James and Sarah stood back. Gave us space. Clara looked up at me, eyes empty. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. I just want you to know, I'm sorry, every day. I looked at her for a long moment. I believe you, I said. But sorry doesn't bring back the months I worried. It doesn't bring back the trust. You'll pay what you owe. And then, maybe one day we can talk again. But not yet. She nodded. Tears fell, but she didn't wipe them. She walked away, slowly. I watched her go. And something inside me loosened. Not gone, but lighter. The money came in slowly, check after check, every month like clockwork. I used some to fix the roof Marcus always meant to fix. Some to help Sarah with her apartment. Some to James so he could come home more often. The rest I put away, for the quiet years ahead. The house still smells like roses in summer. The porch is still blue. And every evening, I sit out there with a cup of tea. I talk to Marcus sometimes. Soft words. I did what I could, I tell him. I protected what you built, and I didn't let hate win. I like to think he hears me, because in the end, this wasn't about winning or losing. It was about standing up, about remembering that love, real love, includes boundaries, and that strength isn't loud. It's quiet. It's steady. It's showing up day after day, even when your heart is broken. Clara and I, we don't speak now. Maybe someday. Maybe not. But the children still call her Aunt Clara, and I don't stop them. Because family is complicated, and healing takes time. More time than we ever think it will. But it does come. Softly, like morning light through the curtains, one quiet day at a time. This was my true story, friends. A story of loss, of betrayal, of fighting for what matters, and of finding peace on the other side. If it touched you, if you've ever had to stand up when it hurt, share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe your story will help someone else feel less alone. And if you stayed with me through all of this, thank you. From the bottom of my heart. Subscribe if you want more real stories like this. Grandma stories, life stories. The kind that remind us we're not the only ones carrying heavy things. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other. Good night. Reflections in the Quiet Garden. Years have passed since that courtroom morning. The checks from Clara still come every month, like clockwork. Smaller now, but steady. I open each envelope at the kitchen table, the same table where Marcus and I used to plan our little dreams. I deposit them without fanfare. No anger left. Just a quiet acknowledgement that life keeps moving forward, even when it hurts. The house is quieter these days. Sarah visits often. She's married now, has a little girl with Marcus's eyes. They call her Rosie, after the roses in the garden. James comes home when he can. He's out of the Navy, working as a mechanic. He fixes things the way his dad did. Patient, careful, never in a rush. We don't talk about Clara much anymore. Sometimes Sarah asks if I've heard from her. I shake my head. She's living somewhere up north, I think. Small town, quiet life. James nods. Good for her. And that's enough. We've chosen not to chase more answers. Some wounds heal best when you stop picking at them. I still sit on the porch most evenings. The blue paint has faded a little, but I like it that way. It feels honest, worn in, loved. The roses bloom every spring without fail. I prune them myself now. My hands are slower, but they remember the motions. Clip here, tie there, water when the soil feels dry. Marcus used to say the roses taught him patience. I understand that better now. One evening last summer, Rosie was playing in the yard. She ran up to me with dirt on her knees, and a tiny flower in her hand. "Grandma, look, I found a pretty one." I took it from her small fingers. It was a wild daisy, not one of my roses, but beautiful all the same. I smiled at her. "It is pretty, sweetheart. Very pretty." She climbed onto my lap and rested her head against my shoulder. "Grandpa liked flowers too, right?" "Yes," I whispered. "He loved them, especially the ones that grew even when no one was watching." She stayed there until the sun dipped low. In moments like that, I feel Marcus closest. Not in big dramatic ways, just in the ordinary, in the smell of fresh dirt, in a child's laugh, in the way the light hits the porch at golden hour. I've learned something important over these years. Betrayal doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the chapter that teaches you your own strength. I didn't sue Clara to punish her. I did it to honor what Marcus built, to teach my children that love sometimes means saying no, when everything inside you wants to say yes for the sake of peace. To remind myself that I am allowed to protect what is mine, even when the person taking it shares the same blood, even when forgiveness feels easier than justice. Clara and I never spoke again after that hallway outside the courtroom. I don't know if she's found peace. I hope she has, because carrying hate is too heavy for anyone, and I've chosen to set mine down. The garden is thriving this year, pink and red and soft white. I walk among them sometimes and think about how everything grows back. After storms, after cold winters, after long droughts, life finds a way. So do we. If you're listening to this and you've been carrying something heavy, a betrayal, a loss, a broken trust, know this: you don't have to carry it forever. You can stand up. You can ask for what is right. You can forgive without forgetting. And one day, maybe not today, but one day, you'll sit in your own quiet garden. And the sun will feel warm again. The flowers will bloom again. And you'll realize you're still here, still breathing, still loving, still whole. That's the real victory. Not the money, not the courtroom, not even the apology. It's waking up one morning and feeling the weight gone. Not because everything is perfect, but because you chose to keep going anyway. With grace, with boundaries, with hope. Thank you for staying with me through this long story. My true story. If it meant something to you, if it reminded you of your own quiet battles, please leave a comment. Share a piece of your heart. You never know who needs to hear that they're not alone. And if these grandma stories touch you, if you like hearing about real life, the messy, beautiful parts, hit that like button, share with someone who might need it, and subscribe. There are more stories waiting, more lessons wrapped in heartache and healing. I'll be right here, waiting to tell them. Until next time, friends, take good care of your heart, water it gently, protect it fiercely, and never forget, you are stronger than you know. Good night, and sweet dreams.